Good morning, everyone. I am positive that you are doing great and you're in a good place and good condition even amidst this current situation that we are experiencing. I can see that our situation is getting better and so we are. I hope we are constantly doing better in our adjustments towards this modality in the continuity of our studies. Thank you in advance for participating. Today, I'll continue the discussion regarding the theories of learning. Mom Jacqueline tackled these topics already. So at this moment, we will be dwelling in the third theory under conditioning, which is the social learning theory. Is the so-called social learning theory. This theory suggests that social behavior is learned by individuals through observing and imitating the behavior of others, or what we call models. This is according to the proponents of this theory, Albert Bandura and Wallace. According to Bandura, there are four sub-processes in the said theory. These are attention, retention, motoric reproduction, and motivation, often referred to as reinforcement. First step is the attention. The behavior or value desired has got the attention and interest of the learner. The behavior of the model must grab the learner's attention for them to notice the behavior and to implement observational learning. People are exposed to lots of behaviors in their immediate environment daily, and they don't learn everything that is happening around them. It must grab the person's attention. They pay attention to that which they deem important. Second step will be retention. The learner retains the behavior or value to be learned. Retention is how well the behavior is remembered. If there is no memory of the behavior observed, there is nothing to be retained for reproducing the behavior. Retention is an internal memory event that is essential for learning a new behavior. Imitation of the behavior immediately after sin is not enough to establish a behavior. People may soon forget it as needless information, and there won't be any memory to refer to in the future. No change will occur if they don't remember how to imitate the action. The third process is the motoric reproduction, or simply reproduction. In this process, the learner now imitates or emulates his model. Reproduction is the ability to execute the model's behavior that was observed. This will also measure your retention ability because the way you enact what you observed will portray how good you are in remembering. Last process will be motivation or reinforcement. The learner now practices what he has imitated. Even though a person may have the ability to reproduce the behavior, they must have the will or desire to do it. People are more motivated to mimic the behavior if the behavior is rewarded with something. If the behavior is followed by punishment, people are less likely to imitate the behavior. If we noticed, the aforementioned sub-processes are connected with each other for the reason that we pay attention to the model's behavior, we will have something to remember for us to imitate or enact, depending on the drive or will that we possess regarding such learned behavior. Learners learn heavily from observation and imitation. They imitate models. Models could be parents, teachers, siblings, friends, peers, cartoon characters, or celebrities. They recognize these people because they have talents, abilities, or qualities the child wants to possess. They are more motivated to adopt various behaviors, learns the language used at home, the dispositions, speaking habits, the religiosity, values, and health habits of his role models. Therefore, teachers, as we are one of the models towards our learners, we should be good role models to them in good manners, fair dealing with others, good values, and friendliness. Last learning theory that we will be dealing is the cognitive field theories of learning. From the word cognitive, thought, understanding, and perception are functions that influence the reinforcement of learning. According to various theories under cognitive, insight and understanding are utilized in discovering the logical relationships of things and situations, which are then organized into a meaningful whole to solve a problem or difficulty. There are three cognitive field theories that we will look into. First is the colors theory. Color experimented with a chimpanzee placed in a cage. The animal tried to reach a banana placed outside the cage with his own hands, but he could not. There were two sticks in the cage, and the animal used one to reach the banana, but he failed as well. Then the chimpanzee joined the two sticks end to end, and the animal was able to draw the banana closer to him. We are often confronted with similar difficult situations in life where we try solution after another. There is an element of trial and error involved, but insight and understanding are utilized to the maximum. The level of mental ability often plays a vital role in making cognitive learning effective and successful. How about the application in the classroom? Solving a mathematical problem is an example. Student employs different solutions, utilizing available data and insight and understanding, he finally arrives at a correct solution. Second is the Lewin's theory. According to Lewin, an individual lives in a life space. His environment, external forces such as things, situations, or conditions act on him. His drives, ideas, concepts, feelings, attitudes, and insights constitute the internal forces that interact on him too. The resultant of these two groups of forces, the internal and external, is the behavior of the individual. For instance, a teacher, an external force, teaches his pupils that 2 multiplied by 3 is equal to 6. The pupils, through their insight and understanding, which is the internal force, interact with the teacher and learn that 2 multiplied by 3 is indeed equal to 6. The resulting behavior of the pupils is their ability to multiply the figures accurately. This suggests that both forces have something to influence in the process of learning. Since external forces continually act on the individual and internal forces continuously interact with them, continuous changes in the behavior of the individual occur. External forces continuously produce tensions of different degrees of intensity in the individual. These tensions serve as motivating forces for individual to make adjustments to his environment. Thus, he is active one in the pursuit of learning. Lewin's theory of learning is almost, if not exactly the same, as his theory of personality. His theory of personality presented as the equation B is equal to F quantity P and E. It states that an individual's behavior represented by the capital letter B is a function symbolized by the letter F of the person, letter P, including their history, personality, motivation, and their environment denoted as letter E, which includes both their physical and social surroundings. To complete the cognitive field theories of learning, let's have the Bruner's theory of learning. Jerome Bruner's theory of learning proposes that learners construct new knowledge and do this by organizing and categorizing information. The concept of discovery learning implies that students construct new idea, concept based upon their current or past knowledge, or we also refer to as a schema. Thus, it is similar to a constructivist approach. This theory involves three processes, namely acquisition, transformation, and evaluation. If we talk about acquisition, this is the process of obtaining and assimilating with understanding new information better than a previously one. While in the process of transformation, it is the manipulation or utilization of information gained to remove a difficulty or to solve a problem to which it is suited. It is an application of learning. Last will be the evaluation, wherein it is the process of finding out whether the information acquired is appropriately utilized. Let's have an example. A student learns that distance is equal to rate of speed times time. This is acquisition. A problem arises. How far will a car go in 3 hours if it travels 80 kilometers per hour? He finds the distance to be 240 kilometers by multiplying 80 kilometers by 3. This is manipulation. Then he checks his answer by adding 3 80s, the sum of which is 240. This is the evaluation. Furthermore, according to Bruner, there are 4 basic concerns to any learning situation. Otherwise, no learning takes place. These are understanding, readiness, independence, and motivation. Understanding the basic and logical relationship between and among the components of a subject and even with other subjects is a prerequisite to learning. Indeed, because you cannot move forward or go deeper in learning process if comprehension was not achieved. Without understanding or comprehension, no learning will take place. Next is readiness. It is also a prerequisite to learning. However, readiness may take a long time. Hence, the teacher must bring down the level of simplicity of the lesson to the level of understanding of the pupils so that he will be ready to receive instruction. Gradually, he will acquire the minimum requirement of the lesson. This is due to individual differences. Every child possesses various intelligences that enable him or her to be ready to a certain acquisition of learning. Third concern is independence. The development of an individual pupil to be an independent learner is very important according to Bruner. Since he does not always have his teacher with him, he must be trained to be independent and self-sufficient in solving problems that come his way. He must be able to search for information needed and determine and correct his errors by himself alone. This will enable the child to discover his innate capacities that may aid in his independent learning. The final concern for the learning situation identified by Bruner is the motivation. Do you agree if I say that learning is more effective if the learner is properly motivated? Based on experience, it is absolutely accurate. Bruner believes that intrinsic motivation is more desirable than extrinsic motivation. What do you think is the reason behind such statement? He stated that intrinsic motivation comes from within the individual learner, thus it is readily available since it is innate. He may have a desire to learn because of its worth, while extrinsic motivation comes from outside the individual in the forms of rewards and punishments. It is not an automatic factor since outside force has its influence towards your learning behavior. We're done with the cognitive field theories of learning. So at this point in time, we will be conversing about some theories of the transfer of learning. Transfer of learning refers to the facility in learning subject matter due to a previously learned one. Acquired knowledge, skills, ideas, concepts, understanding, insights, attitudes, and values aid in obtaining the same in the study of another subject matter. Simply, it is the application to another situation from what was learned previously. Such transfer can be determined whether it is positive or negative one and the like. Some of these are mental discipline, theory of identical elements, theory of generalization, and theory of configuration. In mental discipline, it asserts that skill or training gained in the study of one subject will improve the performance of the same skill in the study of another subject. For instance, the training gained in memorizing poetry will facilitate the memorizing of other learning materials such as names, dates, events, and other information in history. The skill of memorization applied to poetry has an implication towards other subject which is history, which uses the same skill in its learning process. Thus, the value of subject does not only lie in the usefulness of the content but also in the value of the training and skill acquired used in the study of other subjects. Sad to inform you that the popularity of this theory among psychologists and educators is waning because experimental evidence shows that strenuous memorization of poetry does not improve the ability to memorize the reasoning power needed in other fields of study. It depends in the situation anyway. For theory of identical elements, it was formulated by Thorndike. I believe you are acquainted about him since he was introduced initially on his work regarding connectionism theory. Identical elements theory states that the amount of transfer depends upon the presence of identical elements in both learning situations. The presence of identical elements, which may be content, method, rules, or principles, facilitate learning. For instance, the study of mathematics facilitates the study of physics because the principles used in the solution of verbal problems in physics are the same principles studied in mathematics. Can you still remember some of those identical topics you had during your undergrad with these two subjects? Or you're just like me who already moved on from such things? Next is the theory of Charles H. Judd, the theory of generalization. It means that experiences in one learning situation can be applied in another learning situation. It should be noted that there are also similar elements in two learning situations. In this sense, this theory is similar to the theory of identical elements, but emphasis is placed on the understanding and recognition of the relationships between the generalizations of the two learning experiences involved. For instance, take the study of English and Filipino grammar. The rules and principles of grammar are practically the same in the two languages. Although the word noun in English is translated into pangalan in Filipino, both have the same uses in the sentences, such as subject of a sentence, object of a verb, or objective complement. The adjective in English is called pang-uri in Filipino, but both describe or modified nouns. In fact, a good knowledge of English grammar can be a good basis for studying Filipino grammar and vice versa. Final transfer learning theory is the theory of configuration. This is the same as the Gestalt theory of learning. The term configuration is the equivalent of the German word Gestalt, which literally means form or shape. Configuration refers to the unified or total pattern of organization of a learning situation so that the components or elements lose their identity. The learner sees the learning situation as a whole, not the parts. It is through the combination of the elements of each learning situation that the learner can see the relationships and similarities between two learning situations, and hence, transfer of learning will take place. Take the two courses, nursing and medicine. Medicine as a whole is analyzing an illness and prescribing its cure. Nursing, on the other hand, is taking care of the sick and administering the cure. Hence, the two courses are allied. So one who has finished nursing will have an easier time learning medicine. Thus, the sum is better than its part, like what the Gestalt approach reiterates. For our last topic for today's session, we will be oriented with the various factors affecting the transfer of learning. These are the relevant factors: mental ability, similarities between subject matter, motivation and effort-making capacity, method of teaching, facilities, and background. If we are to assess the relationship of these factors towards the transfer of learning, their relationship will be dubbed as directly proportional. When we say directly proportional, when each factor increases, the higher the transfer of learning that will take place. The same if the lower exerted force in every factor, the decreased transfer of learning will happen. Let's have a clearer presentation with each factor. First essential factor is the mental ability. The higher the mental ability of the learner, basically the more transfer of learning will take place. Same is true with the similarities between subject matter. The more similarities that exist between two subjects, the more transfer of learning will take place. In the case of motivation and effort-making capacity, the more motivated a learner is and the more effort he exerts, the more transfer will take place. Same applies with the method of teaching. The more effective a method of teaching is, the more transfer will take place. For facilities, the more adequate and superior the facilities in the teaching learning situations are, the more transfer will take place. Finally, the learner's background. The learner with a superior or richer background or environment can have more transfer of learning or training than one with poorer environment. Now that we are familiarized with such matters, let's mobilize ourselves as an agent in paving a way for the realization of higher and increased transfer of learning towards our learners, the heart of the teaching and learning process, not undertaking the other way around. I guess that's all for today. Again, I say the knowledge that we gain from today's session may equip us and enhance our dealings towards the learning process. May we utilize the different concepts that we acquired from the learning theories to come up with positive results in our teaching endeavors. Thank you so much for tuning in until the end of our session. Once again, greeting you a great morning. Stay safe, everyone. Goodbye.